Hello and welcome to this very quick Kickstarter update. I had to make a video for this one because I want to show you this properly. So this is a digital production sample. It's effectively not the final quality, print quality, although I have to say, looking at it, I don't see how it can get all that much better. But this is a digitally printed production sample, just making sure all of the details are correct and just giving it the final, yes, I have it in my hands and I'm happy with the way that it works, kind of checking. So we're going to have a look at this, we're going to have a look at what's inside, and then we're going to have a look at these, the card samples. So what do we have here? We've got the game box, as you can see. Unfortunately, when it was sent to me by the manufacturer, they just wrapped it in some cardboard, so it did get smushed a little bit. But don't worry, the manufacturer will not be packaging your parcels. That will all be happening in the fulfillment centre, and they'll be sent in proper big boxes that are big enough for these. But this gives you an idea of how the final thing is going to look. It's got a very nice, you can't see it, but it's got a very nice feeling matte lamination on it. Print quality is great on this. And it will be better in the final offset printing version. Now you might be wondering why all these cards are blank and why these ones have square corners. These are just samples provided so that we can see the weight of the box and what's going to be in here. We're going to put an insert in here to stop these things rattling around. The card proofs are always provided on sheets, not on cut decks, because that's the last stage of manufacturing. So don't be alarmed. We'll have a look at the card sheets in a minute, but this just gives you an idea of how many cards there are in the game. And these are stands that I've got. They're not the actual ones that we're using. So we have a rule book, which nowadays, what did we end up? We ended up 28 pages in total, so very happy with the way that this is looking. No changes are needed to this, and basically this process is just me double checking that everything looks fine and everything looks good, and that we don't need to make any last minute changes. In the campaign guide, which you'll see in a moment, there actually are going to be some changes. Now the rulebook is longer than it needs to be, but I just put in loads of illustrations to really make the rules as clear as possible. These are not really necessary, it's already been explained in the rules text, but they just make it much easier to understand. And we've also, in the rulebook, there's a QR code which will take you to some explanation videos as well. So this is the campaign guide. This is absolutely huge now. It's 56 pages, I think. Yeah, 56 pages in total. And so this is the whole campaign story. There's some additional campaign rules which are specific to this campaign, which aren't in the rule book. So here's a change. Now you can see there's some very faint, intentionally faint writing here explaining what you do with your campaign log. This will be downloadable as well, so you can print off your own version. You don't have to write in the rule book, but I made these intentionally faint so that when you write over them you don't really see them. Unfortunately they are so faint that you can't really read them without looking very, very closely at them, so that's going to change. Other than that, nothing else needs to change in here. I'm going to flick through this really quickly because I don't want you to see any spoilers, but as you can see, there's an awful lot of text, an awful lot of story in there as well. And these are the bits that I'm most excited about. It has killed me getting this box a few days ago and having to wait to make this video before punching any of the punch boards. Although I will admit a couple of them have just fallen out, which is always a good sign. It means they're very well cut. But I am super happy with these. So you'll see here, these are the 5A is an indicator of which tile it is, and so when you look in the campaign guide, it'll tell you what tile you need and where to put it. And then we've got whether you can move over it, whether it blocks line of sight, and whether it provides you with cover. So I'll explain more about those sorts of things in videos before delivery. But yeah, super happy with these. We've got, let's have a go. Oh, yeah, that's very satisfying, isn't it? So we've got the Baryonyx, and all these guys. These are pirates coming out very nicely, and so I shall get these in standy stands and play around with them a little bit at some stage. So all looking pretty good so far. Let's just have a quick look at all of these. So we've got objective tokens, which are on the other side, they just say objective. So there are certain scenarios where they're secret, so you'll shuffle those up. I've also, it's not required in any of the campaigns, in any of the campaign scenarios. You're just using this side of the spawn token. So there's 1 to 4, 5 to 7, and 8 to 10. However, on the reverse, I thought just for people who want to design their own scenarios, or maybe we'll release some online, we've got some additional. So this, instead of having 2 spawn tokens, 3 spawn tokens and an even distribution, you've got an even distribution over 2 tokens, 1 to 5, 6 to 10, and there's also a spawn token where you don't need to roll. It's 1 to 10 effectively. So yeah, these ones are double-sided. The confusion on one side and bleed on another, and then some of them are venom on the other side. Yeah, very happy with these. I won't labour over them too long. I did manage to get the rulers on, which I'm quite pleased about. I know people were asking in the campaign, will we have to use a tape measure, or will they be rulers provided? And I did manage to squeeze them on. We've got a few extra bits and pieces as well. So if you see on here, we've got some control panels that are required in the campaign there. And here we have different coloured control panels with both off and on sides. Again, they're not required in the campaign. There's an additional door as well. Just in case anybody wants to design their own scenarios, we're going to publish a way to do that online, and we'll definitely be putting them on the website if people do them for us. And so this is the punch board that we managed to provide as an extra, and as a sorry we're so late, it's not my fault, it's the pandemic, but you know, still it's not ideal. So we've got the Ceratops and the Ankylosaur, which again, neither of these are required in the campaign, but there will be online scenarios to download that use these. And final thing to look at, the card proofing sheets. Now, these are not the actual paper. The actual paper, as we've already discussed, the proper card, proper playing card stock with a linen finish on them. I don't know if you can see that in this light, but as we've said before, these are just digital prints to make sure that everything's correct, and I'm going to skim through these relatively quickly because there are some spoilers on some of them. But these are your character upgrade cards. So we have equipment, which you get at certain story points during the game, and then you earn XP and you'll buy certain abilities, and they work. In fact, I'll show you how they work in a minute. So we've got plenty of these, and then this is these are the action decks. So this is how your dinos are controlled. You'll flip a card for each dino, and they do a number of things. So, for example, this one is going to move to shoot, and then if it's an elite, it'll get an extra stun, and then it's going to flip all ambush markers within 8 inches of the model. This one's going to shoot with stun. Sunder if you're an elite, then it's going to move 4 inches to break line of sight, and we have reference cards for all of these symbols, but they're also quick reference, symbol reference on the back of the rulebook, as well as the summary cards. So that's those. These are more action cards for that don't come in the box. These are the ones for the extra perth. stretch goals, and here we have character cards. You'll see the character cards have got a regular and a focused side. They can become focused, and they've also got these are called energy tracks, and energy tracks are effectively how you use your abilities. So you put a counter on to count your energy. It'll count up one each turn, and then when you spend it, it'll go down the amount of tracks that you've spent it. We also have the enemy cards, which they have their stats, but they also have their reaction matrix. So what do they do if you move within 8 inches? What do they do if you create noise within 12 inches? And what do they do if you're ambushing? And these are double-sided. We've got the juvenile type and the adult type. So there are 4 different types for most of the enemies. These are Drowned Earth profile cards for anybody who's going to use these, the models in the box in Drowned Earth, and these are all the extra unlocked. We've got the Pirate Drowned Earth profile cards, the leader cards for those, and the Gene Splicer cards. And these, so you can see here, we've got a symbol reference and various things. I'm going to skip through these quite quickly because this is where there's spoilers. So these are your story cards. They're the action cards during the game, which you flip when you when you achieve certain things, and that's the mechanism by which you drive the story of each scenario on. So cool, that's everything. So I'm going to excitedly go and pop a few tokens and have a play with these. Whoops. And see you in the next one.